He only raised chickens, but found a giant egg and froze when he saw what was inside. Robert Mitchell Davis felt his hands trembling as he held that watermelon-sized egg. He had never seen anything like it in his 15 years raising chickens on the small farm he inherited from his father in rural Pennsylvania. It was when he decided to carefully crack it open that his life changed forever. Inside the egg, there was no egg white or yolk, but rather a sealed metal capsule and yellow documents that looked decades old. "Oh my God, what is this?" murmured Robert, kneeling under the shade of the old mango tree where he had found the mysterious egg. His dirt-stained hands shook as he opened the papers. They were letters, old photos, and what looked like a map with coordinates. One of the letters was signed by his own father, William Davis, who had left the farm 30 years ago and never returned. Robert felt his heart race. The letter said there was something valuable hidden on the property, something that would change the life of the whole family. The coordinates pointed to different spots on the farm, places he knew like the back of his hand. "Robert! Robert! Where are you?" shouted a familiar voice. It was his older brother, Michael, who rarely visited the farm. Michael had graduated from law school and worked in the capital, always criticizing Robert for staying to take care of the chickens instead of studying. "I'm here, Michael," replied Robert, quickly hiding the documents inside his shirt. Michael approached with a smile Robert hadn't seen in years. He was well dressed in a suit and tie, contrasting with his younger brother's simple work clothes. "I need to talk to you about something important," said Michael, wiping sweat from his forehead. "The farm is going through some financial difficulties, isn't it? We got some bills here at Mom's house." Robert nodded. It was true things had been tight. The price of corn had gone up, some chickens had gotten sick last month, and the profits were getting smaller and smaller. "So I have a proposal for you," Michael continued. "I know some buyers interested in the property. They're offering good money. We can sell and split it 50-50. You could buy a house in the city, live more comfortably. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing." Robert felt something strange about his brother's proposal. Michael had never shown any interest in the farm, always speaking poorly of country life. Why did he want to help now? "I don't know, Michael. This land is all I have. It's where we were born, where Dad started everything." "Robert, be realistic," interrupted Michael in a more serious tone. "You don't have the capital to invest. You don't have the education to modernize this place. And if you keep going like this, you'll lose everything anyway, but to debt." That afternoon, after Michael left promising to return the following week with the sale papers, Robert went to Mrs. Margaret's house, his 75-year-old neighbor. She had lived on the neighboring property for over 50 years and knew all the secrets of the area. "Mrs. Margaret, do you remember my father? From the time he left here?" The elderly woman stopped watering her plants and looked at Robert with a mysterious expression. "I do remember, my son. Your father was a good man, a hard worker, but he had some secrets he carried." "What kind of secrets?" Mrs. Margaret looked around, as if checking to see if anyone was listening. "Your father hid some things on this property before he left. I saw him digging in several places, always in the early morning, but I was threatened to keep quiet." "Threatened? By whom?" "By someone from his family. Someone who didn't want these things to be discovered." Robert felt a chill in his stomach. Mrs. Margaret's words confirmed his suspicions about the documents found in the egg. That same night, using a flashlight and following the map's coordinates, Robert began digging at the first indicated spot. It was near the old chicken coop, which hadn't been used in years. After an hour of digging, his hoe hit something solid. It was a small wooden chest, but heavy. Inside, he found more old photos and love letters, but the letters weren't from his mother, Catherine Wilson. They were from a woman named Rebecca Thompson. The letters revealed his father's secret romance, a relationship that had resulted in the birth of a daughter. Robert discovered he had a half-sister he never knew, living in the neighboring town. "How can this be?" he whispered to himself, sitting on the kitchen floor, surrounded by the documents scattered on the table. The next day, Michael returned earlier than promised, bringing with him a man who introduced himself as a property appraiser. "Robert, this is Mr. Stanley. He will do a fair appraisal of the farm so we can set the selling price." Robert observed this Stanley. He was a thin man with glasses, who wrote everything down on a clipboard and made negative comments about every corner of the property. "This fence is very old. It needs to be completely replaced," said Stanley. "The main house has leaks. The chicken coop is obsolete. Honestly, the property is worth much less than I imagined." "How much do you appraise it for?" asked Michael, with a discreet smile. "At most $60,000, and that's pushing it because it will be a lot of work for the buyer." Robert knew the farm was worth much more. The land alone had considerable value, not to mention the prime location and soil quality. "Michael, can I speak with you in private?" The two moved away under the mango tree where Robert had found the egg. "60,000. Michael, you know this land is worth at least 200,000. "Robert, you don't understand the real estate market. Stanley is an experienced professional, and let's face it, you need the money now, not in 5 years waiting for a buyer who will pay more." That same afternoon, Robert decided to look for Rebecca Thompson. He used the town's internet to find her address. He traveled by bus to Lancaster, where she lived. Rebecca was a 50-year-old woman with graying hair who worked as a seamstress. When Robert introduced himself as the son of William Davis, she began to cry. "I knew that one day someone from the family would come looking for me," she said, wiping away her tears. "Your father was the love of my life, but he was married. Our daughter is named Jennifer. She's 28 years old and works as a teacher here in town." "My sister," murmured Robert, still trying to process the information. "Your father promised he would leave something for Jennifer in his inheritance, but when he passed, we never heard anything again. Jennifer grew up knowing who her father was, but without ever having met him. Rebecca, I need you and Jennifer to come with me to the farm. I found some things that might interest you." The next day, the two women accompanied Robert back to the property. Jennifer was a determined young woman with brown hair and eyes just like her father's. When she saw the photos and letters, she also became emotional. "I always dreamed of getting to know the land where my father lived," said Jennifer, looking at the fields and the chicken coop. "My mother always said he was an honest man who loved this land." It was then that Michael arrived unexpectedly, again accompanied by the appraiser. Upon seeing the two unknown women, his expression changed completely. "Robert, who are these people? And why haven't you signed the papers I left yesterday? Michael, I'd like you to meet our sister Jennifer and our second mother, Rebecca." Michael's face turned red with anger. "What do you mean, sister? What kind of story is this?" Jennifer stepped forward, showing one of the letters. "I'm William Davis's daughter, just like you, and I have just as much right to his inheritance as anyone." "This is absurd!" Michael exploded. "I won't accept strangers showing up out of nowhere trying to take what's ours." "Michael," said Robert, trying to stay calm, "the proof is all here. Dad left clear instructions about this." "What instructions? Where are all these papers?" Robert realized he had revealed too much. He decided to tell about the egg and everything he had discovered. When he finished his account, Michael was pale. "Where are these documents now?" "In a safe place," lied Robert, sensing that something wasn't right. That night, Jennifer stayed to sleep at the farm, in the room that had been their father's. Rebecca went back home but promised to return the next day. During dinner, Jennifer and Robert talked about their memories of their father. To Robert, William had always been a melancholy man who spoke little about the past. To Jennifer, he was a distant hero, someone she imagined through her mother's stories. "Robert, can I ask you a question?" said Jennifer, playing with the food on her plate. "Of course. Do you think our father really left something valuable hidden? Or is it just hope?" "I don't know, Jennifer. But I have a feeling there's something bigger behind all this. Michael's behavior, his rush to sell the farm." The next morning, Robert woke to the sound of machinery. He rushed to the window and saw a tractor on the property, starting to dig near the old chicken coop. "Hey, what are you doing?" he shouted, running outside in his pajamas. Michael was there, supervising the work, accompanied by that Stanley and two other men. "Robert, we decided to speed up the process. These gentlemen are the buyers. They want to evaluate the subsoil before closing the deal. Without my authorization, this land is still mine. Actually, said Stanley, showing some papers, your brother showed us some documents proving the property's debts. If you can't pay them off, we'll have to proceed with the seizure. Robert took the papers and analyzed them. They were supposed overdue tax debts, loans in his name that he had never taken out. This is a forgery, Michael. I never signed any of this. Robert, you can't prove it. And let's face it, you really do owe some taxes, don't you? It was true that Robert had some small pending issues, but nothing that justified those astronomical amounts. Jennifer appeared on the porch, already dressed, and watched the argument. Quietly, she photographed the documents with her cell phone. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. Michael, said Jennifer, approaching, what a coincidence that you showed up right after Robert discovered our father's documents. Could it be that you didn't know anything about this before? Young lady, I don't know who you think you are, but this has nothing to do with our family's affairs. Yes, it does, and I'll prove it. That afternoon, Jennifer went into town to speak with a lawyer known to the family. It was Attorney Benjamin, an elderly man who had been William's friend. Jennifer, your mother was always an honest woman, said Attorney Benjamin, analyzing the letters and photos. And I remember your father. He came to see me shortly before he passed away, wanting to make a will. A will? Did he actually make one? Yes, but it was a strange process. He wanted to include you in the inheritance, but said he was afraid someone in the family would try to stop it. That's why he created a complex system, hiding the information. Do you have a copy of this will? I do, but there's a condition. Your father said it could only be opened when all the heirs were present and aware of each other's existence. Jennifer felt her heart race. Finally, they had a concrete lead. That same night, Robert and Jennifer decided to continue the excavations, this time at the second point indicated by the coordinates. It was near the house, under a 100-year-old jaboticaba tree. Robert, do you think our brother always knew about me? I don't know, Jennifer, but his reaction today made me think maybe yes. They dug until almost midnight when they found another chest, larger than the first. Inside were more documents, some antique jewelry, and a sealed envelope with the inscription, "To be opened only by the 3 children together." 3 children? Jennifer questioned. That's what it says here. The next day they confronted Michael in the presence of Attorney Benjamin. The lawyer brought the original will and explained the conditions left by William. Michael, said Attorney Benjamin, your father was very clear. The inheritance can only be divided when the 3 children acknowledge each other as legitimate siblings. 3 children? Michael tried to disguise it, but his nervousness was evident. Yes, Robert, Jennifer, and you. Your father knew you had known Jennifer since childhood. That's a lie. Michael, interrupted Jennifer. Yesterday I spoke with my mother. She told me that you used to come to our house when you were a teenager, that our father introduced you to her. You knew everything all along. Michael was silent for a few seconds, then exploded. So what if I knew? She has no right to anything. She was the daughter of an extramarital affair. Michael, scolded Robert. How can you say that? Because it's the truth. Our father betrayed our mother. And now this woman shows up wanting to take advantage. Jennifer felt tears in her eyes, but maintained her dignity. Michael, I don't want to take advantage of anything. I just want to know my family and honor my father's memory. Attorney Benjamin opened the envelope that had been found in the chest. Inside was a document explaining that William had discovered a deposit of semi-precious stones on the property. The coordinates pointed to the exact location, near the creek that ran through the back of the farm. That's why all this rush to sell, murmured Robert. What do you mean? Asked Jennifer. Michael always knew about the stones, that's why he brought those men to do excavations. He wanted to find everything before I discovered the truth. This proves nothing, said Michael, but his voice betrayed nervousness. Attorney Benjamin continued reading the document. Here it says that William registered the discovery at the mining notary. The deposit legally belongs to the heirs of the property, in equal shares. Equal shares among 3 people, completed Jennifer. I won't accept this, said Michael, standing up abruptly. I'll contest this will in court. You won't be able to prove anything. Michael, said Attorney Benjamin calmly, you forget that you falsified documents to try to force the sale of the property. That's a crime. How do you know that? Jennifer showed the photos she had taken of the fake documents. I had an expert analyze them. The signatures are clearly forged. Besides, that appraiser you brought doesn't even have a professional license. He's an acquaintance of yours who agreed to do a fake appraisal. Michael was cornered, but still tried one last move. Even if all this is true, you don't have the money to explore this deposit, and I won't invest a penny in it. Don't worry, said Jennifer. I know people in the mining industry who can help us, and my mother has some savings she can lend. Besides, added Robert, we can form a family partnership and take it slow, no rush. The important thing is to do everything right. That afternoon, the 3 siblings went to the creek following the last coordinates. It was a beautiful spot, with crystal clear water and many trees around. William had left subtle markings on the rocks, indicating where the deposit was. You know, said Robert, contemplating the landscape, regardless of what we find here, I think Dad really wanted us to get to know each other. That's true, agreed Jennifer. He could have written a simple letter saying I existed, but he created this whole treasure hunt to force us to work together. Michael remained silent, seeming to reflect on everything. During the excavation at the indicated spot, they indeed found some samples of semi-precious stones. It wasn't a fortune, but it would be enough to guarantee extra income for the family for many years. Michael, said Robert, wiping sweat from his brow, I know you were disappointed with all this, but we're siblings. We can try to start over. I apologize, said Michael finally. When our father passed, I was so angry. I thought he had abandoned our family because of Jennifer. All these years, I carried this resentment. Michael, said Jennifer, approaching, our father loved you above all else. My mother always told me that. He left because he felt guilty, not because he didn't love his family. But why did he never come back? Because he was afraid of everyone's reaction. My mother said he wrote letters to your house, but never had the courage to send them. That night, the 3 siblings had dinner together in the farm's kitchen. Jennifer had prepared chicken with okra, a recipe she learned from her mother. Robert told stories about life on the farm, and Michael talked about his career in the city. You know, said Michael, playing with the food on his plate, I always envied your life in the countryside. In the city, you get lost among so many people, so much noise. You can come here whenever you want, said Robert. Now we're partners, right? And I can teach you some of Mum's recipes, added Jennifer. She always wanted to see the land where my father was born. The following weekend, Rebecca came to visit the farm, accompanied by Catherine, the mother of Robert and Michael. The meeting between the 2 women was tense at first. Catherine, said Rebecca with a choked voice, I never meant to take your husband from you. He was going through a difficult time and we fell in love unintentionally. Rebecca, replied Catherine, those were complicated times for all of us. William was a good man, but he had trouble dealing with his feelings. The 2 women talked for hours, sharing memories and grievances. In the end, they managed to make peace. Our children are siblings, said Catherine, and that's more important than anything that happened in the past. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. In the following months, the family began to get organized. Jennifer requested a school transfer and came to live on the farm, helping Robert with chicken farming and developing the small mining operation. Michael visited every weekend, bringing legal knowledge to regularize all the documentation. They discovered that William had left more surprises hidden. In one of the last points of the coordinates, they found a small safe buried near the orchard. Inside was money saved 30 years ago and more letters explaining his decisions. In one of the letters, William asked forgiveness for the secrets and explained that he had left not for lack of love, but out of cowardice. He couldn't face the judgment of the family and the local community, so he chose to run away. I hope that one day my children can forgive me and find in the land I so love the unity I failed to build in my lifetime, read Jennifer, with tears in her eyes. Dad was always very emotional, commented Robert. I remember him crying when he watched those old soap operas on TV. He cried when he saw united families, added Michael. Now I understand why. The story of the Davis family began to spread throughout the region. Mrs. Margaret told everyone about the secrets she had kept for decades. The local priest suggested they organize a mass in memory of William. I think it's a good idea, said Jennifer. We can take the opportunity to present our reunited family to the whole community. On the day of the mass, people from several neighboring towns attended. Everyone wanted to know the story of the siblings who found each other through a giant egg. Robert was nervous about speaking in public, but Jennifer encouraged him. Robert, she said, you've always been the guardian of this land. It's only fair that you be the one to tell our story. During his speech at the church, Robert spoke about forgiveness, family, and how people can find each other again, even after many years apart. My father taught us that family isn't just those who live in the same house, he said. It's those who carry the same love in their hearts, even from a distance. After the Mass, they held a lunch at the farm for all the visitors. Jennifer and Rebecca cooked together with Catherine, preparing typical dishes of the region. Michael helped Robert organize the tables under the trees. Robert, said Attorney Benjamin, approaching during lunch, you've turned a story of conflict into a life lesson. Attorney Benjamin, do you think our father planned all this? Asked Robert. I'm sure he did. William was smarter than he appeared. He knew you needed to go through this trial to become a true family. During the afternoon, an unexpected surprise arrived. A lady nearly 80 years old, leaning on a cane, introduced herself as Dorothy, William's older sister. Aunt Dorothy, exclaimed Michael, we thought that you were no longer with us. Die? Not yet, my child, the lady laughed. I heard your story through a neighbor and came to meet my niece Jennifer. Dorothy hugged Jennifer emotionally, saying she had the same eyes as her father. My brother was always passionate about this land, Aunt Dorothy recounted. When we were children, he said that one day he would have a big farm with many animals and a huge family. Aunt, do you know why Dad never came back? Asked Robert. Yes, I do. He wrote letters to me all these years. William was sick with heart problems. He was afraid to come back and leave again, causing more suffering for you. Sick? Jennifer turned pale. Yes, my child. Your father passed away 2 years after he left here, but he left detailed instructions for me to take care of delivering the inheritance when the right time came. Aunt Dorothy explained that she had kept some important documents of William's, including photos of the whole family together and a final letter addressed to his 3 children. In the letter, William explained that the giant egg had been made by himself, using a crafting technique he learned in his youth. It was his special way of keeping treasures and surprises for the family, a tradition he would like to see continue. Make eggs for your children too. Keep beautiful memories for the future, read Michael. What a beautiful idea, commented Jennifer. We can start a family tradition. In the following days, the family decided to better organize the property. With the money from the semi-precious stones and the savings found in the hiding spots, they managed to modernize the chicken coop and expand the flock. Jennifer suggested they also raise different breeds of chickens geared toward agritourism. Michael proposed building a small inn on the farm, taking advantage of the natural beauty of the place. We can host families who want to learn our story, said Jennifer, and teach others about family unity. That's a wonderful idea, agreed Robert. I've always dreamed of showing more people how beautiful country life is. The agritourism project began to take shape. Michael used his legal knowledge to get everything properly permitted. Jennifer developed educational activities about nature, and Robert taught visitors about animal husbandry. Rebecca and Catherine became great friends, cooking together for the tourists and telling old stories of the region. Aunt Dorothy moved into a little house built especially for her at the back of the property. I never thought at 75 I'd be starting a new life, said Aunt Dorothy, laughing as she fed the chickens. Auntie, life always gives us a second chance, replied Robert. The important thing is to know how to make the most of it. In the first year after the discovery of the egg, the farm welcomed hundreds of visitors. Many families arrived in conflict and left more united, inspired by the story of the Davis siblings. One such family was made up of two elderly sisters who hadn't spoken in 20 years because of an inheritance dispute. After spending a weekend on the farm, they reconciled. "Jennifer," said one of the ladies before leaving, "you showed us that family is the most precious thing we have, and that it's never too late to start over," added the other sister. During the second year, Robert started a special project, creating decorative eggs like the ones his father used to make, but now to sell as farm souvenirs. Jennifer helped by painting delicate designs on the surface. "Robert," said Jennifer while painting an egg with flowers, "sometimes I think our father is watching all this and smiling." "I'm sure he is," replied Robert. "He achieved what he always wanted, a united family." Michael had decided to cut back on his work in the city to spend more time on the farm. He opened a small law office in the neighboring town, specializing in rural and family matters. "I want to help other families resolve their problems without having to go to court," explained Michael. "I've learned that talking things out solves more than lawsuits do." In the third year, Jennifer married a local veterinarian, Richard, who fell in love with both her and the farm. The ceremony was held under the mango tree, where Robert had found the first egg. "What a symbolic place to start a new family," said Richard during the vows. Robert also found love. He started dating Sarah, a retired teacher who regularly visited the farm with student groups. She was charmed by his simplicity and wisdom. "Robert," said Sarah during a walk through the orchard, "you taught me that happiness isn't in life's complicated things, but in the simple moments." "And you taught me that it's never too late to learn new things," he replied, holding her hand. Michael remained single but always surrounded by nieces, nephews, and friends. He had become the favorite uncle of all the children in the family, always making up games and telling stories. "Uncle Michael," said Jennifer's daughter, now 5 years old, "tell the story again about Grandpa's giant egg." "Only if you promise to carry on the tradition when you grow up," replied Michael, picking the little girl up. The farm prospered beyond what anyone had imagined. Rural tourism had grown, chicken farming had modernized, and small-scale mining provided a steady income. But the most important thing was that the family had become an example of unity and forgiveness in the region. Mrs. Margaret, now over 80 years old, remained the most beloved neighbor. She had become the official storyteller of the Davis family history, receiving visitors in her home and recounting all the details of the discovery. "My dear," she said to Jennifer one afternoon, "your father would be so proud to see what you've built here. Mrs. Margaret, you were essential to all of this. If you hadn't told us about the excavations, but I always knew that one day the truth would come out. Secrets don't stay buried forever." In the 5th year after the discovery, the family decided to organize a big celebration. Everyone who had somehow participated in the story was invited. Attorney Benjamin, the families who reconciled at the farm, neighbors, friends from various times. Robert prepared a special speech for the occasion. "5 years ago, I was a lonely man, taking care of chickens and dreaming of a better life. Today I have a huge family, a prosperous property, and most importantly, the certainty that love and forgiveness can overcome any obstacle. The giant egg I found under that mango tree didn't just contain documents," Robert continued. "It contained hope, unity, and proof that our family was never truly separated." During the party, the children played treasure hunt in the orchard, following coordinates that Jennifer had created. It was a way to keep alive the traditions started by William. "Aunt Jennifer," shouted one of the nephews, "I found another egg." Inside the egg the child had found, Jennifer had placed candies and a message about the importance of family. It was her way of perpetuating the grandfather's legacy. Aunt Dorothy, now 85 years old but still very lucid, watched everything with a smile on her face. "William," she murmured, looking at the sky, "you did it. Your family is complete." "Aunt Dorothy," said Michael, approaching, "are you all right?" "I'm great, my son. I was just thanking my brother for being so wise." "Wise how?" "He could have left a simple will, dividing everything into 3 equal parts. But he preferred to create this journey for you to truly get to know each other. Only a very loving father would do that. The party lasted until late at night. There was music, dancing, plenty of food, and most importantly, many stories being told and retold. Each person present had something to add to the Davis family saga. Attorney Benjamin, now retired, made sure to highlight the legal importance of what had happened. In 40 years of law practice, I've never seen an inheritance case resolved with so much love and justice. You should write a book about it. Maybe one day, replied Jennifer. It would be beautiful to have this story recorded for future generations. And for other families going through similar conflicts, added Robert. At the end of the party, when the last guests had left, the three siblings sat under the mango tree where it all began. The full moon illuminated the property, and the sound of crickets created a perfect symphony. "Do you think Dad imagined things would turn out like this?" asked Robert. "I think he hoped for the best but prepared for the worst," replied Michael. "That's why he created so many alternatives, so many clues." "What impresses me the most," said Jennifer, "is how he managed to know us so well without having lived with us for very long." "Maybe that's the magic of a father's love," philosophized Michael, "to know his children by heart, not just by living together." The three fell silent for a few minutes, each lost in their own thoughts. It was a moment of peace and gratitude that would repeat itself many times over the following years. "You know," said Robert, breaking the silence, "regardless of everything we found here, the greatest treasure was the two of you." "And I thought I was going to die alone taking care of chickens," laughed Jennifer. "And I thought success was just having money and an important position," added Michael. In the years that followed, the Davis family's story continued to grow. Jennifer and Richard had two more children, who grew up running through the farm fields and listening to the stories of their grandfather, William. Robert and Sarah married in a simple but very moving ceremony. Michael was the best man and gave a speech about how true love always finds a way to flourish. The farm became a reference for rural tourism in the region. It received awards for sustainability and for its social contribution, helping families reconcile. Aunt Dorothy lived until she was 90, always telling stories about William's childhood and teaching the children how to make decorative eggs. When she passed, she left one last gift for the family, a complete album of old photos she had kept for decades. Among the photos, they discovered images of William as a child, playing in exactly the same places where his grandchildren now ran and had fun. It was as if time were a circle, connecting generations through love for the land. Rebecca and Catherine became inseparable, traveling together and caring for their grandchildren with affection. They created a sewing group that met weekly at the farm, producing crafts that were sold to tourists. "Who would have thought that you and I would become such good friends?" Rebecca said to Catherine one afternoon. "It's because deep down we've always been part of the same family," replied Catherine. "We just didn't know it." The small mining operation also prospered, but always in a sustainable way. Jennifer insisted that part of the profits be invested in environmental projects, preserving the springs and reforesting degraded areas. "Our father loved this land," she would say. "It is our duty to take care of it for future generations." Robert became a reference in sustainable poultry farming, giving lectures at universities and receiving visits from students from all over the country. His humility and practical wisdom won over everyone who met him. "Professor Robert," a student asked during a lecture, "what is the secret to raising happy chickens?" "It's simple," he replied, smiling. "Treat them like family, with affection, respect, and lots of love." Michael specialized in family mediation and became known for resolving conflicts without going to court. His own experience of reconciliation with his siblings was his greatest credential. "Attorney Michael," said a client after resolving an inheritance issue, "how do you manage to find solutions that everyone accepts?" "Because I learned that family is worth more than money," he replied, "and that honest conversation resolves more than any lawsuit." 10 years after the discovery of the egg, the farm had completely transformed. Where there was once just a simple chicken coop, there was now a modern rural complex that still maintained the charm and simplicity of the countryside. The main house was expanded to accommodate the growing family, but they preserved all the original details. The kitchen where William had his coffee remained the same, with the same wooden table and the same old tiles. It's important to keep our roots, Jennifer would tell the children, so we know where we came from and where we're going. The mango tree where Robert found the first egg became a sacred place for the family. Every year, on the anniversary of the discovery, they gathered there for a prayer of gratitude. During one of these yearly gatherings, Helena's youngest daughter, now 8 years old, asked a question that touched everyone. "Mommy, do you think Grandpa William can see us from where he is?" Helena looked at the girl, then at her siblings, and finally at the leafy mango tree. "I'm sure he can, my dear. He's in every rooster that crows in the morning, in every fruit this tree gives us, in every smile we share with each other. And especially," added Robert, "he's in the lessons he left for us. That family is the most precious treasure there is." The tradition of decorative eggs spread throughout the region. Many families adopted the idea of hiding messages and gifts in handmade eggs, creating special moments between parents and children. The local school included the story of the Davis family in the curriculum as an example of peaceful conflict resolution and the importance of family values. The children loved visiting the farm and hearing Robert tell the story in person. "Mr. Robert," a child asked during a school visit, "weren't you mad when you found out you had a hidden sister?" "At first I was confused," he answered honestly, "but then I understood that gaining a sister is always a blessing, never a problem." Helena developed a social project, bringing the farm's experience to underprivileged communities. She taught poultry farming techniques, crafts, and especially family conflict mediation. "What you lived through here can help many other families," she told her siblings. "We have an obligation to share this learning." Michael created a free legal assistance program for small rural producers, inspired by their experience of almost losing the farm to dishonest people. "No one should go through the anguish we went through," he explained. "Legal knowledge shouldn't be a privilege for just a few." The farm began receiving delegations from other countries interested in learning about the sustainable rural tourism model developed by the family. Japanese, Germans, Argentinians, they all wanted to understand how a simple chicken farm turned into such a successful social project. "The secret," Robert explained to the foreign visitors, "isn't in the technique or the money. It's in the love we put into everything we do." During one of these international visits, a Japanese journalist was so impressed by the story that he decided to make a documentary about the family. "Mr. Robert," the journalist said, "your story proves that human values are universal. Family, forgiveness, and love speak the same language anywhere in the world." The documentary was shown in several countries and brought even more visitors to the farm, but the family never lost the simplicity and humility that always characterized them. "No matter how many people come to visit us," Helena told her children, "we're the same as we've always been, a family that learned to truly love each other." End of story. And you? What did you think of this story of overcoming and family unity? Have you ever experienced a similar situation in your own family? Tell us about your experience in the comments. Leave your like if the story touched your heart, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other moving stories like this one.